Just give us a sense of what the mood is like on the streets of Hong Kong this Friday evening.
There's quite a lot of anger. Even before Carrie Lam had finished her press conference today, people were already out on the streets in two neighbourhoods, in the central business district and also in Kowloon Tong across Victoria Harbour. And there's actually probably both sides of the protest are represented here. Like, you have office workers who were also out earlier on during their lunch break in Central, and you also have the more radical elements, some of whom have set up roadblocks and actually set fire early on in the evening. This has caused the government to let civil servants go home early. A lot of offices have let people go home early as well, and also a lot of shopping malls have closed. So people are actually fearing the worst this evening. There are protests called in at least 14 neighbourhoods, including many that saw quite violent clashes 3 days ago on China's national holiday.
So, Oliver, the attempt of this law, as far as the government is concerned, is to restore law and order to the streets of Hong Kong. But from what you're saying, it's actually having the opposite effect.
Yeah, the law does not actually come in until midnight tonight. So technically, this could be the last hurrah of protesters by actually turning out to masked as they are. But it's hard to really see how the law will actually deter many. It might deter some of the more casual protest goers who go along and then leave before any violence breaks out. But it's really hard to see that the more radical ones, who are already facing quite draconian penalties for rioting, that's 10 years in prison if they are actually caught. So they figure that this law, which will give them a fine of about 25,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is just less than 3,000 euros, and also 1 year in prison, it's not really much to add to it. And also, there are practical considerations as well. Hong Kongers, like many people in this part of the world, tend to wear surgical face masks whenever they're ill, just to warn people off. Will they be affected by it? The government has already said that medical and professional reasons will be taken into account, but journalists will breathe a sigh of relief at that, as they are actually, it's almost impossible to cover protests here without a gas mask, which would come under this ordinance. However, then there is the case of residential neighbourhoods which are being tear-gassed indiscriminately by police, such as last night in the middle-class neighbourhood of Tai Kau Shing on Hong Kong Island. What exactly will they have to do if they are exposed to dangers like this? And what we have seen over the last 3 months is that Hong Kong protesters are incredibly resourceful and creative. So I think we will find very, very soon if they're able to find ways of getting around this ban.